This is Southampton Town Supervisor Jay Schneiderman, and I'd like to call this meeting of the Southampton Town Board to order on this 12th day of May 2020. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Madam Clerk, would you please do a roll call?
Certainly. Supervisor Schneiderman.
Present.
Today.
Councilman Lofstad.
Here.
Councilman Martell.
Here.
Councilman
Sounds like
Bouvier.
Lou Gehrig's speech.
Here.
And Scavone.
Here.
Yeah, Charles, we have an echo.
I think Sunday is in twice.
Okay,
So,
Sunday, mute one of yours. All right, so we do have a quorum. In fact, we have the entire board present. Thank you for gathering via this teleconference, this video conference. I know it's not easy to conduct a meeting in this fashion. We're all looking forward to the day that we can meet again at Town Hall and have the public present. These are very challenging times that we're working to get through and working very hard to keep everybody safe. I want to start out our meeting with a brief moment of silence. The town lost 2 of its employees in the last week or so. We lost Roxana Flores, who was a Spanish language translator, part-time employee in the Justice Court. And just yesterday, we lost Mark Sidor, who was a court officer with the town for many years, and just a tragic loss. Roxana was a COVID-19 related death. Mark's was not. But I would like to honor their memory and send our prayers to their families and our support. These are tough times, and these 2 tragedies really hit hard, particularly the Justice Court Department having lost 2 of their beloved members. So let's join together in a brief moment of silence in their honor and memory. All right, thank you, board. All right, before we get to the agenda, I've asked our public safety director, Ryan Murphy, to, he's been in the trenches of doing so much of the work, working with all the department heads, working with me on all the phone calls, working with all the board members, trying to coordinate the town's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. So Ryan, can you give us just a brief update, any changes since last time you talked with the board?
Sure, thank you, Supervisor. Just a quick update. We're hovering right around 900 confirmed positives within the town of Southampton right now. Obviously, testing all over the place has ramped up significantly, the availability of testing. So it's not necessarily surprising that we're seeing some increases in numbers in terms of the number of confirmed positives. That we expect that we'll probably continue to see that throughout the region. The positive, different use of the word, obviously. The positive news here is that although there are continued tests and people that are showing that they are positive for COVID-19, we are seeing continued decreases throughout the healthcare and hospital system in terms of the number of people that are hospitalized, the number of people that are hospitalized in ICUs, and the number of people that are on vents. So that is the good news, is that has seemed to either somewhat flatten or actually decrease, and that's good news. The state has issued certain metrics that regions need to hit in order to be able to start the process of reopening. And when that process happens, it's important to understand for all of us and for the public that that's not going to be just a reopening of the floodgates. The same way there was a phased approach to closing, and to get to the point that we're at now, there will be a phased approach to reopening, and that has to be done slowly and cautiously. There are 7 different metrics that need to be hit, including things like availability of testing, availability of PPE, personal protective equipment, hospitalization numbers, stabilizing, things of that nature. The downstate region in which we are grouped with Nassau County has hit 5 of the metrics at this point out of the 7 as of the close of the day yesterday. We're hopeful that we'll hit the other 2 somewhat soon, but there's also conversation about being able to open certain things even without completely hitting all metrics. So, and that is just conversation from the state. I would say we've heard some rumors about the possibilities of opening up some additional quote unquote light recreational activities, things like tennis. We've also heard some rumors that there may be some expansion of horticulture activities that are available to continue function. All of that right now are things that we have heard from the governor's press conference and things that we have heard that are being talked about. We're waiting to see what those materialize as in writing. And that's been the case all along. What the governor says in the press conference oftentimes then needs to be refined and put into policy. Many times you make one change and you have to amend 6, 7, 8 different laws or codes that go along with that change. So he says certain things in the press conferences, and then the legal team and the policymakers have to get together and figure out how to make that work and write it up on paper. So it's good to stay informed. It's good to watch the press conferences, get a general sense of what's going on, but I would advise people not to take any kind of actions until we actually see those things show up in executive orders. But that said, we are optimistic. We have been having conversations with more and more of our commercial establishments. Many of our commercial establishments are proactively starting to develop plans for when it's time to reopen, and communicating those plans with my office and the fire marshal's office that falls underneath us in public safety. And I would commend all of those establishments that are doing that in a proactive fashion. We've heard from some of our restaurants developing plans to identify mechanisms by which they can preserve social distancing, maintain sanitary conditions, so on and so forth. So those folks are going to be positioning themselves to be ready to open the second that the approval is given from the governor's office to be able to open. And that's a prudent activity to develop those types of plans ahead of that, so that we don't have to bounce too many things back and forth once the all clear is given for them to open. And when that happens, it's probably going to be in limited capacity. And I think we all understand that. A restaurant, for example, isn't going to go from, curbside or takeout only to fill the house and reestablish business as usual. There's going to be a scaled approach to reopening a facility of that type. We are also actively preparing to reopen town facilities. We are examining different protocols and procedures to make sure that when that happens, it also happens in a scaled and phased approach, and that the safety of both the resident visitors as well as the employees are preserved as best as possible when that time comes. So people, when they come back to town hall, might see some changes. They might see some plexiglass separations at different counters, some high traffic public interface counters. It's designed to preserve the safety of the residents that are visiting us to do business with the town, as well as our employees, so that we can minimize the cross-contamination points, the ability of particles from sneezes and coughs and just regular respiratory actions from going from one side of the counter to another. So we're taking steps like that to begin to prepare to reopen in some capacity to the public, and we expect that would occur in probably about 4 different phases, beginning just to kind of hint at it, beginning with probably an appointment opportunity, and then slowly opening for just unscheduled public visits. Of course, we're also looking at some of the other programs and services that the town has to offer, things like our beaches and some of our outdoor activities, and we're examining those very closely. We're in communication with our neighboring townships, the townships on both sides of us, most importantly, the remainder of the county, as well as all the different villages within Southampton and the neighboring townships, to try and make sure that whatever actions we take, we're taking them with a very regional view of what is going on, so that we are all on the same page and taking similar actions. We know that this is disruptive to people, and we know that the impacts of the coronavirus pandemic are experienced and painful to people on both the health side of things, as well as financially and economically to people. And we understand that, and we're doing our best to try and return to some sort of sense of normalcy as soon as possible, while still preserving public safety as best as we can in the process.
Well, thank you, Ryan. Let me offer the board, if they have any questions for you, a moment to ask those questions. Yes, Councilman Scavone?
Ryan, thank you for the update. I really appreciate it. As far as the beaches and the summer amenities, when do you think those plans and protocols will be finalized so that we can alert our realtors and folks coming out for the summer, and our residents, what it's going to be in Southampton, at least for the beginning part of the summer?
Sure. So throughout this entire process, we've maintained the sense that outdoor recreation is an important aspect of people's lives and their health. And so we've tried to maintain some sort of openness throughout the entire period of closure that the state has passed down so far. At this point in time, I would say that we are preparing to, and obviously this is an evolving situation. We're constantly evaluating whatever the state gives to us and whatever the county gives to us in terms of protocols to follow.
Right.
But we are planning to try and open a small number of beaches to full capacity in terms of having lifeguards on duty and bathrooms open, and if those beaches have any kind of concessionaires, having those available as well. We're looking at 3 beaches right now. We are looking at either reduced availability just for a short period of time in the beginning here of day passes from out of the area. Residents obviously can still get, their beach passes and things like that. And folks that are non-residents but are leasing or renting properties within the town have the ability to also gain access to passes when they produce a lease with a landlord or a home that happens to exist within the town of Southampton. So we're trying to create a scenario where we're not inundated with out-of-area visitors, and we are able to allow our folks to have access to things. And we're looking at this, like I mentioned, probably 3 different beaches right now with lifeguards on. The other beaches will be open, but they just will not be staffed, and the bathrooms in all likelihood won't be open. So it's almost like proof of concept. And we're trying this with the 3 so that we can control it and make sure that the right levels of enforcement are dedicated to it, and staffing. And then, assuming everybody kind of quite literally plays nice in the sandbox together, we can get more open as long as we can preserve the social distancing and safety that needs to happen at those sites.
Those 3 beaches are Ponquag, Long Beach, and Sag Main. The other beaches will be open. That's without bathrooms or out lifeguards, out concessions. They're just basically people be able to park, but they will have to have a sticker. So if they haven't already gotten this year's sticker, last year's sticker is still good for a while, I think till mid-June. And no day passes will be available at least until June 7th. So we're going to suspend day passes. But if you are a resident, you'll be able to go and park at the beach. The police will patrol the beaches and issue tickets to those who are parking there without the proper stickers.
Okay, thank you.
And, thank you. Any other questions for Ryan?
Well, just to comment on the beaches that we've also, typically the road end beaches that are under the jurisdiction of the trustees will still be available, but we're going to accelerate our control of the use of that. As Ryan said, if we find we start to get inundated, we'll implement that, working with the trustees to we normally during the summer, at some point, the trustees give their jurisdiction over those beaches are then controlled by beach passes that are required, and we may accelerate that as needed if and when if we get inundated. I think that's an important point. I did have a question for Ryan about the metrics that we're using. If you could maybe explain a little bit to the public that we're looked at as a region of Nassau and Suffolk counties, and that those metrics are combined in a certain way. So the phased opening is really contingent on both of those counties meeting these metrics as we go forward. Is that correct?
You are correct, Councilman. And just to give a little bit more information on it, I hadn't explained the 7 metrics before, but it's the 7 things that are being counted by the state for our region, which is Nassau and Suffolk, combined, not individually, is hospital decline, hospital deaths, new hospitalizations, a 30% availability of hospital bed capacity, 30% availability of ICU bed capacity, testing capacity, and contact tracers. So as of yesterday, we had met all of those requirements with the exception of hospital deaths and new hospitalizations for our for our region. I think we had approached we were on the borderline with contact tracers, but we had gotten quite close. I believe in some cases, Nassau's numbers are just a tiny bit higher than us. So when we average those 2 out, Suffolk's faring a little bit better, but this is a regional approach. So those get factored in, and we need that whole thing to come down for us to be able to make this work.
Great. Thank you, Ryan.
Any other questions for Ryan? I gave Ryan about 10 minutes notice that he'd be updating the town board. So, and he didn't have any time to prepare for this, but thank you, Ryan. You've been doing so much great work, and we really appreciate it. You've been working around the clock, and it's not easy. Everything has to be reinvented, every aspect, as we talk about opening town facilities and, how we're going to keep employees safe and the public safe. And it's an extraordinary amount of work. And Ryan's been doing a tremendous job on all fronts, from getting PPE, personal protective equipment, to those who need it, to working on all these different plans and coordinating with all these agencies. It's nice to know you're with us, Ryan, and you came just in time.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right. So let's go back to the agenda. And are there walk-ons that we're going to be adding? Does anybody have that?
Yeah, 2.
Yes, there's 2.
All right, let me see if I can pull that up. Yeah, okay. I have it here. Give me 1 second. All right, so there's 2. There's 34031, which is warrant number 9, and 34036, authorizing publication of notice in newspaper in connection with the town's application to participate in the DEC's brownfield cleanup program for the Damascus landfill site. So let me make a motion to add those 2 resolutions to our agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Lofstad. All in favor? Aye.
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 All right. So we needed 4 out of 5. I think we had 5 out of 5. So we'll take those up at the very end of the meeting. Okay. So next let me make a motion to approve the minutes of our regular town board meeting, April 28th of 2020.
Second?
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the minutes are approved. Before we do communications, let me just, in case I forget to do this at the end, remind the board that we have a meeting of the Hampton Bays Water District Commissioners on Thursday, I believe 10 o'clock. We'll meet as commissioners of the Water District. And then we'll have, I guess, a brief work session to follow and executive session. All right, so Madam Clerk, would you please read the communications?
Certainly. The following communications have been received in the office of the town clerk. We have received public notices from the U.S. Department of the Army, letter of coordination for Howell Lane in the village of Quogue, financial disclosure statement filings from the listed individuals, and land use applications regarding the following: a zoning board of appeals adjoining neighbor notification for Riverlay Avenue in Riverside. The following bid openings took place live on camera, posted on our town's website. For debris removal at Bel Air Cove Motel, furnish and install microsurfacing and or crack sealing, Hampton Bays transfer station booth replacement, printing for the police department, property cleanup to bring properties back into compliance, rehabilitation of a 1 million-gallon elevated water storage tank, the Sag Harbor transfer station booth replacement, and last, the STOP program household hazardous waste removal. The following report was filed from the Town Comptroller's Office for the April 2020 monthly financial report. And that concludes the communications for this meeting's agenda.
All right, thank you, Cindy. So let's move on then to public hearings. We have 4 of them scheduled. Some of these will have to be adjourned to other dates. I have said that the ones that relate to, well, let me see. They're not even on the ones that have to relate to the
Moratorium.
Native American moratorium, right?
Right.
The protection of
Put them on end of May.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
For the 20.
So in general, when we do these public hearings, or we're going to leave the record open for 2 weeks
Yes,
for written
yes,
comment?
for written comments and, yeah.
Okay. So Madam Clerk, would you read the first public hearing notice?
Certainly. Public hearing number 1, to consider the transfer of lands from Suffolk County, Bridgehampton, and amend the Community Preservation Project Plan and the CPF Management Stewardship Plan to include said property.
All right. And I did see Lisa Combrink is on this
Yes.
teleconference conference call. Lisa, do you want to tell us a little bit about this?
Unmute.
Good afternoon, Mr. Supervisor, members of the board, and all on the call. I have the first public hearing is a proposed transfer from Suffolk County through CPF for property in Bridgehampton that is delinquent in taxes. I'm going to try to do the screen sharing so that you can see a map of or an aerial of the 2 parcels. So just bear with me while I pull that up, and then I'll explain the rest of the details regarding the 2 properties.
Okay.
Oh, and nope, I don't see it. Let me just try one more time. Nope. Let me see if this will work. Can you see the property now?
Is it on your desktop?
It is, but when I do screen sharing, it doesn't come up. Let me try again. Let me just try one more time. Yeah, nothing. Oh, hold on. Let me try one more
There
time.
you go.
Yeah?
Now we see your screen.
Okay.
I see your mouse moving.
We don't see
Okay.
the document though.
Oh, boy.
So what you should do is just close. Yeah, there you go.
No, it's completely disappeared. I apologize. Hold on. It's completely disappeared from my desktop now.
Okay.
Well, let me just, in the meantime, just tell you the details, and if you're more comfortable putting it over, we can do that. There are two properties. It's Suffolk County Tax Map number 971, 34.19 and 34.20. One of them is on Montauk Highway, very close to Norris Lane, close to the high school in Bridgehampton. That is, so it's right on the highway. It's 3.4 acres. And then there's a circular piece of property in the middle of basically a cul-de-sac in the subdivision that's 0.77 acres. They're zone CR40, and they would be designated as open space. And particularly the parcel on Montauk Highway would be nice because it would keep some undeveloped property that's wooded available as people are driving back and forth, within the town. The county is offering both of those parcels together, and the price for those two pieces is $7,047.82. So it's a fairly minimal investment that would come out of CPF funds.
I would like to actually see, now, are either one of these developable lots, or are they just like
I
small?
think they were part of the open space requirement, or
Or a
undeveloped.
subdivision?
Right, it was part of the Parsons Settlement subdivision back in 1995. And the taxes haven't been paid since 1999. So
Okay, so they're not,
there,
they're subdivision reserved areas, both of them?
as far as I know, yes.
Okay.
I believe they probably were going to be transferred at one time, or should have been transferred to an HOA, homeowners association, but obviously they went into
Well,
default.
maybe they're, I
taxes.
mean, should we be managing these properties, or should they be with an HOA then?
Well, the piece on Montauk Highway, I think, would be appropriate to just leave it alone. It wouldn't require any maintenance. The property that's circular and that's surrounded by homes, I don't think I wouldn't recommend that we do any maintenance on that. I don't know. Go
Is
ahead.
there a homeowners
Tara.
association that is asking
Tara.
us about this?
Hold on one second. Tara, are you able to show the images?
Yes, if you would like me to, I could bring those up on my computer. I'll leave the meeting and I'll bring up the GIS and I can share my screen if that would be okay.
That would be great, Tara. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna leave the meeting right now and I'll go and I'll navigate to that first one. Are the tax map numbers included on the agenda, or could you read those off?
Yeah. I can give them to you right now, Tara, if you want.
Thank you.
It's 971-3. They're both District 900, Section 71, Block 3, and then lots 34.19 and 34.20.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll be right back.
Thank you, Tara.
All right, Tommy John, what was your question?
Does a homeowners association exist in that subdivision currently?
I don't know if one does or not. This offer to purchase the properties came directly from Suffolk County.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no entity that's trying to get this property as well, or
We haven't heard
take
of them.
control. Okay.
No.
Are the titles clean on these properties, or these homeowners have rights across them?
We have not done a title search yet, so I would have to investigate that further to see if there were any outstanding rights on the lots. I would say on the circular lot, there may be some rights to use that by the residents, but I'm not sure without doing a full title search.
And part of the reason, not so much for that question, but for the general concern, that 72H program that the county has, where they take properties and they can transfer them to municipalities. It's usually for affordable housing, though they do sometimes do it for open space, and they do sometimes do it for municipal purposes. So without seeing these properties, once we put them in CPF, we know there's virtually nothing we can do. It's even hard to run a utility, like bury a power line underneath it, or run a water main underneath it. So I just kind of want to take a look to see if that's the right final disposition of these properties as in the CPF program versus general municipal use or even affordable housing.
I understand that, and I think certainly with respect to the larger piece that fronts on Montauk Highway, a different use may be appropriate. I did not prepare an authorizing resolution today just for, because I wasn't sure really whether this would be appropriate, but wanted you to have it for your consideration, so.
Yeah, I think when we heard from the county, we definitely should examine this further. I recall when the county reached out to us that we ran it past planning, and we may have also ran it past housing, but that's a good question, Mr. Supervisor. But I believe these are out parcels from that subdivision that exists over there, so that they probably don't have any development rights, but it's something we can definitely look for.
Even, you know, even creating fire roads or anything, if it's in CPF, it's alienation, right? So it's very challenging.
Yeah, sometimes it's better.
I have a question for Lisa. There
Yes, John.
is homeowners association involved with the circular property, those houses around it. Is that an association? And if it is, I don't know if you told us what the size of that property was, but it's potentially a water quality acquisition. If their homeowners association has any idea or interest in putting in a cluster system. I don't know how many homes are there, but I always like to look at those properties from that standpoint as well. I don't know if it was reviewed by Water Quality Board or what the recommendations from the Land Preservation Board
Good
were.
point,
Right.
John.
That's a good question, John. I'm getting a message from Dave Wilcox that these were both open space properties during that 1995 subdivision process.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe
Makes sense.
David's
That
on
makes sense.
the call.
Right.
So,
If the HOA owned it, John, they don't own it anymore. They lost it. Whoever may have owned it at one point lost it to the county.
It was always in an LLC. I don't know that, it sounded like it was the name of the developer who was the prior owner before it went to the county.
And to Jim's point, I meant that in the sense that I understand they've lost it probably for non-payment of taxes or what that is. But if CP acquires it, it may be, depending on the density of the area, that may have some utility as a reserved site in water quality for future cluster. Yes.
Sure.
We have an image now on the screen. So this is one of them, the circular piece.
So the circular piece, and then the piece that's below that, which is surrounded by red, which is accessed via a flag, and that's buffer fronts on Montauk Highway. Yeah. But as Dave Wilcox mentioned, that these were created as open space during the period of during the approval for the subdivision of this property, 1995.
So would that preclude its use for water quality?
We'd have to look at the restrictions, John. It may, but we'd have to
look
further on.
That's one of them that's already says it's owned by Suffolk County.
Correct.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. County owns it, Jay. Definitely.
The county's taking it, and it's already all right. Yeah, that makes sense. Maybe water quality, as John was saying, just to keep it more flexible.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a good site. Now, is there it's up against Montauk Highway? Is there a strip that?
It is. It's no access shown. It's just the whole piece fronts along Montauk Highway, and then right next to it, to the west, is that I believe it's the motel, and very close to the high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to get a little bit more detail and look at that.
Yeah, I'm sure it was, as Dave mentioned, I'm sure it was a dedicated open space as part of the subdivision. Somehow it was created as a separate lot. Nobody paid taxes. It went to the county, and now the county's looking to dispose of it. I'm sure that's the history.
Yeah, that's fine. I have no objection to us taking that as open space or water quality.
All right, so we'll take a look at the further restrictions that were contained in the subdivision approval, And then if we need to come back and re-advertise it as a water quality acquisition, we'll do that.
Okay, and then where's the second piece? Oh, that's a different hearing.
The circle is the second piece, yeah.
Yeah, this is all, the two pieces, the circle is part of this hearing. That was the other
Oh,
piece.
Yeah,
Yes.
that one really could potentially be some sort of clustered treatment thing that could connect all those houses to one system rather than having all the houses have individual IAs. So,
That
Yeah,
was
there's a,
0.7 acres on that one.
there's a formula there for the return on that investment. So depending on the number of homes, where that is. So for the individual IA systems versus a cluster system that's tailored just for that density, doesn't add to the density, but that was always the intent in trying to purchase properties that came up like this in denser areas where the homeowners in that particular area, either as a homeowners association or by a joint commitment, that they would want to have something, have the ability to do that. So not knowing what the organization of that area is, I think that's an important part of that, to make that determination whether water quality it's a good water quality purchase.
I would think that the houses around that would want to control that piece. Maybe they'd want a gazebo or something, a common element, but.
And a question I have is who currently is maintaining it and who would be maintaining it in the future?
Yeah, good question.
And the water quality piece is absolutely germane to this and important. But aside from that, are we going to be cutting the grass and maintaining it? And are we, is that going to fall on CPF?
Yeah.
It would fall onto parks actually if it was anything regarding ongoing maintenance. So it's a very good point.
I certainly understand why the county would want to transfer it to the town. And I don't think it makes sense for the county to hold on to these. So either we take them or a homeowners association takes them. I think that is better than the current status as county holdings. So we'll figure it out. I guess we'll.
All right. So I'll leave it to you whether you want to put it open.
Well, I have, this is a public hearing, so I have to at least ask if there's anybody who wants to be heard on it. Now, there are two separate public hearings because we've only read the.
Right. This was one hearing.
These two are both part of the first public hearing.
That's correct.
All right. So Charles, is there anyone indicating that they want to be heard at this public hearing?
You're going to have to unshare the screen. There's no way for me to see without unsharing the screen.
Who does that, Tara?
Yeah.
Yep, there you go.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Thank you, Tara.
at this point, if there's anyone that wants to be heard, you have to unmute yourself. It's just because there's so many phone numbers.
All right. It doesn't sound like anybody wants to be heard. So what I'll do is let me make a motion to close the public hearing, but leave the written record open for a two-week period. So I don't know what the end date is. Sunday, what's 2 weeks from now?
Is the 26th.
That's the next town board meeting.
What day?
May 26th.
All right. So all right. I'm making a motion to close the hearing, but leave the public record open till May 26th.
Second.
Second by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. So that closed with an open written record. Madam Clerk, the second public hearing.
Public hearing number 2, to consider the transfer of lands from Suffolk County, Shinnecock Hills, and amend the CPF management and stewardship plan to include said property.
All right. And we have our CPF program manager, Lisa Combrink, with us. So Lisa, will you introduce us?
Yes, good afternoon. This is the second 72H property that was offered to, or has been offered to us by Suffolk County. Tara is nice enough to be putting the aerial up on the screen. This property is included in the Community Preservation Project Plan. It's located in Shinnecock Hills. It's accessed, it's south of Montauk Highway and accessed from Middle Pond Road. This
Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Sorry. What was the tax map number for that, please?
900-271
271
1
1
48.15.
48.15. Thank you very much. Sorry about
Thanks,
that.
Sarah. Thank you. This is a very unusual shaped property. You'll see when we get the aerial up. It's 2.5 acres in size and was part of a 1977 subdivision called Sandringham Beach. Okay, there you can see it. It's a very strange shaped piece. You can see you get to it from Middle Pond. It doesn't front on Montauk Highway. It's on Sweetbriar. Part of it fronts on Sweetbriar, part of it on Kenwood. And so this has also been held by the county since 1996 for unpaid taxes. And the cost of this is $45,635.77, which is the total amount of the back taxes.
So it looks like there's some intrusion on several spots by neighbors.
Does look like there's some landscaping, and certainly landscaping, yes.
That's a lot of landscaping.
Okay, those, yeah.
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 And do you know who owns the piece to the south? Southeast, I guess it would be, the wooded area? Yeah,
Shinnecock Hills Development.
got it.
Wait a second, that's a name I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they
Sounds
exist?
familiar.
Do they exist or not exist? Kathleen is on this, so this is a.
We've had this issue on a couple of different issues up there. The trail road, the trail, and I don't think they're functioning at this point. I think Kara was doing the research on that.
Are they paying taxes or is it tax?
I think there was a record of them in the assessor's office, an address, but maybe they're paying. I don't. Yeah, I have to verify. Kara was doing research on this. I thought that we've tried to contact them and we haven't been able to find that they exist any longer. But I'll have to,
Can you just pull the record card up? I don't want to get too far afield, but. Total tax is 0, so we don't know. They may, it's fully tax exempt, right?
that's weird.
I don't know why.
It's weird.
Yeah.
There's a land value.
Park district.
Yeah, there's a land value, but no tax rate.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that.
There's a guy's name, Peter Schmidt.
48.06.
Maybe it was part of the original subdivision, the Sandringham, whatever that was.
Look into
It
that.
was, yeah, it was, John, because if you look at the property record card, it does refer to that subdivision.
Yeah, so that may have been part of the acquisition or the rights to develop.
So let's go back to the main aerial, but Jim, 'cause
Yeah.
we'd want to bring that into the town's control too. If
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting. You wonder why, this piece was the piece that we're talking about now was not tax exempt, while that one is.
Right.
And the one we're talking about, because it wasn't tax exempt, but nobody paid taxes and the county got it, and it's in a position it is now.
Right.
You know, there's probably no difference between the two, quite frankly. You're probably owned by the same people.
Right. and
Can
then we
you-
can get a
One
money
was tax
back as
exempt,
well.
one isn't.
Yeah,
Yeah, it would be nice to get them both. That would be a nice chunk of preserved land.
Yeah, I think,
Right.
yeah, I'll have to check with Lisa why we have it. The only reason why it'd be tax exempt is if it's
What are
considered
the
public lands already.
what are the back taxes on it right now?
The piece that we're looking at, it's just a little shy of $46,000.
Okay, so that's the current value on the assessment.
Right.
Is it-
Interesting. Yeah, it's $45,635.77. The outstanding taxes.
Oh, okay. And it's being offered to us, what's the exchange?
That's the amount, the 45,000 plus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank,
45,000?
Mhm.
46, I thought I saw.
That's
but-
a county investment on a 394. Wow. They must have.
Yeah, on that one.
They must have done some work on there or something.
Yeah, I don't
Because they
know.
usually charge you back taxes on any kind of investment that they did on it.
Hmm.
They may have done some cleanup or something, because that's $394 a year taxes. That takes a long time to accumulate 45,000.
Taxes haven't been paid since 1996, but still.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah,
high amount.
sometimes they will waive it. But
Yeah, we can see what that 45,000 involves. Maybe we can get the interest and penalties wiped off.
right, because I think what's important to understand though is the county has paid the taxes, whatever they were. They have paid it,
Yeah,
to us so that we could pay the school districts. They've made
Right.
us whole.
sure.
So all we're doing really is just making them whole
Paying
too.
them back, right? We just see if that 45,000 is something more than just their investment. Maybe it's penalties, so we'll want to make them whole, but we don't necessarily have to, go
Right.
beyond that.
Exactly. All right. So,
Well, Lisa, what do we do about those huge swaths of privet hedges? I mean, it's not just one or two bushes, it's
Yeah.
it's lines and lines of privet hedges.
Right.
there's a-
Well, I mean, there's a few
Walls?
options. In order to address it properly, we would typically, if we were doing a regular acquisition, we would have a survey done.
Yeah.
And the owner would have to address all those encroachments. If we were going to address them, we would have to have at least some of the boundary lines staked, and then we'd have to send letters to the neighbors, and then we could consider whether we wanted to put up any fences. It would be a big undertaking. I mean, I see there's some structures there. I don't know if that's a shed or a playhouse or something. So it would be a big undertaking, admittedly, to address all of them.
But don't we have to before we take it? I don't know.
Well, we typically, it depends on the investment, but a lot of times we don't get title insurance on these.
But we don't really allow people to encroach onto our preserved lands either.
No, we don't. And as I said, we typically have the boundary lines staked, and then we send letters to the owners and ask them to remove the encroachments. And then we if they don't do it within a designated amount, we advise them that if they don't take care of it, that we will remove certain physical encroachments if there's lumber or other things stored on the property. And then we put up usually a nice split rail fence to protect from any further encroachments.
Uh-huh.
We have this problem. We do have this problem a lot, particularly when the property's been vacant a long time, and a lot of times people they don't really know exactly where their boundary line is. Sometimes they do, but a lot of times they don't. So it may not be intentional.
All right. So just anyway, to move things along, I mean, it's obviously would be good to get this land as open space, particularly with the sensitivity in the Shinnecock Hills area in terms of our archaeology, cultural sensitivity. So Let's go to the public though. Let's see if anybody from the public wants to be heard. So Tara, you'll need to take that screen down. Charles, is there anyone who wants to be heard on this second public hearing?
At this point, you may unmute yourself if you wish to speak. We see none.
Okay, I would then, I guess we'll make the same motion as I did the last hearing, is to close the public hearing, but leave the record open for 2 weeks until May 26th.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you very much.
sure, thank you, Lisa. All right, Sunday, would you read the third public hearing notice?
Public hearing number 3, to consider the adoption of the 2020 CPF pilot plan.
All right, again, Lisa, I'll turn to you to introduce this.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. This is the annual determination of the pilot payment. This is allowed and authorized under Chapter 140 of the Town Code. This is a program that was included in the legislation so that for properties that are purchased by CPF in certain regions in the town and are taken off the tax rolls, this provides some assistance to the fire and school districts in those areas so that although the benefit of purchasing properties from CPF is laudable, that the school and fire districts aren't negatively impacted when the properties are not, when taxes are not collected moving forward. The legislation allows for 10% of last year's revenue to be allocated up to a maximum of 10%. So you have before you the determination of that amount that's been prepared by the Controller's Office and Tax Assessor's Office.
And that should be on page 19 of your packet. In terms of how these numbers have changed, because the CPF last year was not, I guess, as strong as the year prior to that. So the 10% has gone down a little bit, has it not?
I don't have the figures from the last 2 years with me, but as I mentioned, it is limited. So if the revenues were less, then obviously the amount would be less. It does allow you to carry over monies from the prior year if there's money left over, though, so that I don't know whether there are still funds remaining in the fund.
Okay. And at some point we hit that cap, right? What is it? There's a
10%.
up to 10%. Right, so it's possible that we won't be able to reimburse the community for every property that's off the tax rolls, but only a portion of them that are taken off the tax. Once I guess we max out.
Right. We typically
School districts.
school districts and fire districts, right, that are on the
And a
western,
couple library districts.
right on the western end of the town.
So the third column is what we'd be providing them? Right, so it's a total of 4,409,000.
4.4 million.
Yeah, 4,409,023 divided out to various taxing jurisdictions. Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Lisa?
No.
All right, what about from the public? Charles, anybody who wants to be heard on the CPF pilot program?
You may unmute yourself.
Again, the town is applying, we have the discretion to go from 0 to 10%. We're going the maximum amount for tax relief.
Right, and I'm sorry. When we make a CPF acquisition, then we advise various departments whether that property falls within the CPF pilot program, so that we keep a running tab of all the properties that are added as time goes on.
Okay.
I see none, Jay.
All right. And no other questions from the board, then I'll make the same motion to close the public hearing, but leave the record open for 2 weeks. To May
Second.
26th. Seconded by Councilman Martell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
So that's closed, and that gets us to the last public hearing, the fourth public hearing, Sunday.
Public hearing number 4. To consider amending Town Code Chapter 178, East Quad Public Drinking Water Infrastructure Improvement Program to address eligibility criteria and limit the amount refunded to an eligible property owner.
All right, and I think Kathleen Murray, our Deputy Town Attorney, is going to introduce this. Kathleen?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good afternoon, members of the Town Board. As you know, in April of 2018, the Suffolk County Department of Health Services initiated a private well testing program, which identified properties in a specific geographic area within the hamlet of East Quogue as an area of concern, in that they revealed emerging contaminants known as PFAS or PFOA. These particular properties were identified on a map prepared by the Health Department and entitled East Quogue Damascus. Because these properties do not have access to public water, and in response to this issue, the town initiated a public water main project with the Suffolk County Water Authority, which allowed for the extension of public water mains to provide properties with the ability to tap into the public water supply. On July 9th, 2019, by local law number 20 of 2019, the town board established the East Quogue Drinking Water Infrastructure Improvement Program, which has been codified by Town Code Chapter 178. The purpose of the program was and remains to allow affected properties to have the cost of their hookup and connection to public water provided by the Suffolk County Water Authority paid for by the town's Community Preservation Fund. That CPF funding comes from the program being designated as a water quality improvement program pursuant to Chapter 490 of the laws of 2018, together with the Town of Southampton CPF Water Quality Improvement Plan. Now, you may recall Chapter 178 was somewhat recently amended in December of 2019 to allow for properties outside these designated health department maps to receive reimbursement upon the showing of proper proofs and evidence of contamination. Since that time, the Suffolk County Health Department has shared 2 additional maps with the town that identify evidence of these emerging contaminants, PFAS and PFOA. So the purpose of this local law today is to recognize and include those 2 additional maps that the Health Department has shared of the well survey areas known as the vicinity of Quogue and the vicinity of East Quogue. The second function is to allow the reimbursement period for parcels located within these 2 new maps to be retroactive to April 1st, 2018, which is consistent with the reimbursement period for the initial Health Department map known as East Quogue Damascus. And this local law will also limit or cap any rebate issued to the amount of any rebate issued to an eligible parcel based upon the satisfaction of the rebate criteria to a maximum of $10,000 per parcel. Finally, just as a note, this program remains subject to the availability of funding, which may be up to 20% of the CPF's annual revenues based upon the prior calendar year and subject to appropriation by the town board. If the board has any questions, I have asked Charles, our moderator, if the board would like to see those maps, he can screen share those for you.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Kathleen? All right, thank you. That was very thorough. So this is providing reimbursements for people who hook up the public water in these compromised areas and limiting it to 10,000. Expanding the successful program we already have, but not increasing the total amount that we've dedicated. It still remains at 4 million. And I want to thank Julie for her work here and Councilman Bouvier as well. So at this point, I guess we should go to the public. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to be heard at the fourth public hearing?
You may unmute.
Yeah. Unmute.
I see none.
Okay, this does affect a lot of people, so
I know that we received a letter on behalf of the CAC in support of this project. I believe that you all received a copy of it.
Yes, it was distributed.
the retroactive date on this, Kathleen, is what, April of 2018?
April 1st, 2018, correct.
Is that the same date as the first program?
Yes.
That's when we first learned about PFAS in this area. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, if there's no one from the board, Kathleen is like, hey, we can close the hearing, just leave it open for 2 weeks?
Yes, please.
Okay, let me make a motion then to close the public hearing. I'll leave the record open.
Wait, can I be heard? I don't know if I'm unmuted at this point.
You are.
You are. Who is
Okay.
this?
Tiffany Gavin?
Okay, so we're not in public portion yet. We're in a hearing
Oh, I'm
on,
sorry.
on East Quogue program to pay for public water connections. So we'll get to you in a bit. We'll be there very soon, Tiffany, just maybe another minute or so. All right.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
No, that's okay. So I'll make a motion to close this public hearing, the fourth public hearing, and leave the record open for 2 weeks. Julie Lofsted, Councilman Lofsted is seconding. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that's closed with the open record to May 26th. All right, so actually we now are at public portion, and Tiffany Gavin has been waiting a good hour to speak at public portion. So Tiffany, you can unmute your phone and we'll give you 3 minutes or probably whatever you need to make your comments known.
Okay, am I unmuted at this point?
Yep. Mhm.
Okay, thank you for your time. I would like to bring to attention a bulkhead was removed with no land containment and mitigation prior to its removal. And as a direct result of this landslide, the property has slid and continues to slide into the mouth and the canal. The canal has been negatively impacted. The landslide interferes with present use of water flow, navigation, and recreational enjoyment, and egress, boating, and fishing. It was removed without any land containment and was not weighted fairly and equitably, as this is a shared shoreline. This canal has been navigable waters for 70+ years, was navigated by a motorboat, and is now difficult to pass with a paddleboard. This is a tidal canal, and due to the size and the height of the landslide, it is drier for longer period of times as water flow is severely impeded. On May 4th, it was about 112 feet long, 22 feet deep, and 13 inches high. On May 11th, an additional 110 feet in length of erosion has added to this landslide. It now goes into neighboring properties and now meets the shoreline on the other side of the canal. There is a slope to the property. To minimize the impact from the removal of the bulkhead, a containment measure should have and could have been set in place to avoid and minimize the impact of the sand and soil from running off into the canal. There is no evidence of responsible planning for the containment of the land and the protection of this water. The slide could have been mitigated with breaks in the property slope and varying sections of materials to contain upland and avoid the erosion in the landslide that's occurring. This property was left to slide and was left with broken concrete, bulkhead demolition debris, and dangerous rebar projecting from posts on this seafloor, cinder blocks, bricks, pieces of porcelain. It's been soaking in the water since the bulkhead removal, October 24th, 2019, to the present day. What has occurred since the bulkhead has been removed is the sand is now getting caught behind the bulkhead. This landslide has slid so far into the mouth of the canal, it has completely removed our navigation. It's a problem that needs to be remediated. I have pictures from 1950 moving forward all the way year by year on Google Earth, showing that this property has been contained for all of these years. This is a direct response to the bulkhead removal that this landslide has happened. I could present you with photos that I have. I don't know. I'm kind of hoping at this point nobody could see me, but I'm thinking you can.
We can't see you. No,
Oh, okay.
we can only hear you.
Okay, so I have
where's
pictures of a very clear erosion that has happened. The water that was once navigable and deep enough to travel with a small water boat has been reduced to 30-inch wide trickle of water, about 1 inch deep at low tide.
Tiffany, where is this located?
Where is this property?
This is Bay Point. This is between Long Beach and Bay Point. I'm very familiar with this canal in this area.
Yes.
It has been open, to my knowledge, my entire life. I'm from Sag Harbor. How are you?
How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
And this would fall in part under the jurisdiction of our trustees as well and our code enforcement, and we will certainly look into this.
Oh, I guess we're now seeing Tiffany, right?
I have a picture at the ready. You could see me? You could see this picture?
Oh, there she is.
I can see you.
I see you.
That's a horrifying thing to see right now.
You are.
Okay, if you hold the picture up in front of your
Okay,
face.
that might be easier.
There you go.
Okay, so that's May 2016.
If you can get it closer to your, there you go. Up a little bit and closer would be perfect. Up the other
way.
There you go. A little more.
A little more.
Yeah, I see it.
All right.
Okay, this is the landslide as of Friday.
Well, as Councilman Scavone noted, this is a trustee issue and it's clearly a health and safety issue. So I'm sure we'll get it to the right people as quickly as possible to look into for you.
Is that within the village or is that in the town?
It's
in the
the
town.
it's the town of Southampton.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So how are we leaving this? Tommy John, do you want to follow up?
Yes, I will.
We have the addresses and everything. We have, you know what?
I could
you know,
provide the actual physical address where the bulkhead was removed.
Sure. You have that.
65, sorry?
50.
65 Cliff
60.
Drive,
Right.
Sag Harbor.
So your issue, Tiffany, your issue isn't so much the bulkhead was removed as much as it is the landslide that occurred because it was removed.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. I think that there could have been a land containment and meet the soft shoreline if the land was contained, but there is a pretty big slope to the property.
Yeah, but
And
maybe,
it is a
that-
tidal, sorry?
maybe the material can be removed. It can be dredged out of there and we can have a natural shoreline in that location.
Correct, but the land upland is still on an angle, so it would need to be contained somehow, whether it be by soft materials and rock, but it's just going to continue. In the last week, there was an 8-inch erosion of soil on the property. Now it has slid down another 10 inches. So it's continuing to slide, it's continuing to erode. It's not, it didn't stop. It's continuing. I'm monitoring and I have pictures weekly. And I went,
Tiffany,
yes.
Could I ask a question? Have you contacted any parts of the government previously on this? You said
I
this.
have, yes, sir. I have reached out to Bay Constable Downs, who sent me to Miss Ann Welker, who had Marty Shea respond saying he wants this, that he approved the removal of the bulkhead and he is trying to bring it back to its natural beach. I had to remind Mr. Shea that this is a recreation of history, as I have a picture dating back as far as 1950 showing it's a contained shoreline, not a beach.
Okay, thank you.
Right. So it was navigable. There's actually boats that go through that channel or used to?
Yes, there were not big boats, small water boats were able to navigate through the channel. The deepest part of that channel was parallel to that bulkhead. And now that the slide has happened, what's happening is sliding into the canal. Now it's so far into the canal, it's meeting with the shore on the other side. And now it's just like pinched off.
Okay, yeah, we've seen that in other areas where that's happened.
If I might, could I just provide this resident with my email address for the purposes of follow-up? If we
Yes,
have
please. I would really appreciate that. This is a very concerning situation to the residents.
In order to conduct an investigation, we may need to get access to the rear of her property as well so that we can see this.
Okay.
Please reach out to, my name's Ryan Murphy. I'm the head of public safety here. If you could reach out to me at rmurphy@southamptontowny.gov, and I'll certainly work with Councilman Ciafone on making sure we do the appropriate follow-up on this, and I'll speak to Marty Shea's office.
Okay, I would also like to, the second agency that I have reached out to is the DEC, and they're actively looking into this.
That's what I was going to suggest. DEC.
Yes.
Who have you Tiffany? Who have you spoken with at the DEC?
I have spoken with Eric Boyes and CC'd on the email with the photographs. I believe his name was Clark.
Okay.
But I also reached out and spoke with Art DiMartino at the Army Corps of Engineers. And he was saying, like everybody, due to the corona, there is a little bit of a delay in getting to the site, but I'm hoping that the trustees will be able to acknowledge this is something that really was an avoidable mistake that occurred. And I think that as I think one of the gentlemen mentioned, dredging, I think the problem can be remediated. It just has to be brought to the proper channels to get that done, as the summer is approaching and we can't even get out in the water and it's dry.
Right. No.
To be open, yeah.
Right. That's the main thing. It's a dredging issue, really. It sounds like boiling down.
I think so. I think so.
And that's going to be that's going to be DEC, and without cooperation of our trustees, it's probably going to be where we're going to have to focus for this, I think.
Okay. Would I be able to, at this point, feel that I have the support of the town of Southampton in addressing and remediating this issue?
Yeah, I'll have to reach out to Marty. I mean, I understand Marty's point to just, he likes the natural shorelines, but that's one issue. But keeping the channel navigable is obviously a very important issue for the town and the DEC and everybody. So that's certainly something we certainly would encourage.
I appreciate that.
Sounds like they need to do a small dredging project there. That you can do that with a crane, like a bucket crane. You can bring right in there. It's not I don't think it's a big deal to open up that channel.
I think the problem went a little deeper than that, and I'm not an expert of of waterways, but I could just only speak to the experience of what I'm seeing. As the time is going by, more and more, for lack of a better word, soot and muck has been piling at the end of the canal, and where water once at high tide and low tide filled the canal, it's now just black muck.
Right.
And this is a direct result. Sorry?
I was just going to ask Tara if she's controlling the picture. Could she zoom out? I just want to see where the canal leads to. Is it out to the on the north side?
Doesn't go very far.
Okay. It's just the end of it. It's just the road. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you can move that around, Jim, yourself on your screen.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
John is high tech.
I did not know that.
I can't move it around.
I'm not touching the screen. I'm afraid it'll go
So
away.
it just goes out to a few of the houses over there. This is the exact area where we did the utility district recently.
Yeah, exactly. It's right.
Yes.
It's just a little bit beyond that. It's parallel to the highway.
Yeah, you spoke a number of times at those hearings, right, Tiffany? I remember you from those.
I have, yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'm getting quite a name for myself.
That's okay. That was a successful project, so this.
Yes, I appreciate that, and that's going to be exciting to come to fruition.
You asked if the board supports this. Just from my standpoint, I'd want to have a conversation with Marty Shea. We have strong initiatives to try to, wherever it's feasible, to go back to natural shorelines and living shorelines. And I think there's a balance here that, and I think Jim is correct that this is really a dredging issue, that, you know, to try to preserve that. But I understand where Marty's coming from. It is a big environmental initiative to try to remove bulkheads wherever it's feasible to do that. Obviously, sometimes it causes these kinds of problems. So I'll personally speak with Marty about it and
Thank you.
get some information. But I agree with Jim. I think this is a dredging issue. This comes down to the DEC granting permits. I know the trustees have difficulty at times getting permits on a timely basis from the DEC. So, and I don't know what stage that's in right now, but you know, you're in good hands with Ryan and Councilman Scivone. And I personally, I'll talk to Marty because this is an issue that we deal with in planning, land management.
Yeah, and I can reach out to Craig Elgett, who is the regional counsel over DEC. I have a long time working relationship with Craig, and he usually can get his people in place, and we can, you know, see what the issues are and address them as appropriate.
Tiffany, are you one of the neighboring
Thank you,
properties
Jim.
here?
Yes, sir.
Tiffany, are you one of those neighboring properties
I am, yes.
on that small section, the wetland there that's connected to the larger body?
Yes, sir.
Are you, all right.
There are four, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 houses behind where this bulkhead was removed. So there's 5 houses negatively impacted with the egress and ingress of this canal because it's at the mouth.
Right, so they were waterfront, they're still waterfront, but they're
severely negatively impacted. I think
get out to, other than that, you could get out to open water.
A very limited time of the day. There was always water in the canal, and there was always a way to get in and out of the canal, even at the lowest of tides. That is no longer an option.
Right.
You'd have to walk across.
It's been dredged before. I mean, this is obviously a man-made addition to that area, you know, in the past over many years, I'm quite sure. But it's all been dredged in the past. Are you aware of or personally aware of?
The previous homeowner said the canal was dredged once before, although we don't have any evidence of that. When I spoke with the DEC with regard to the removal of the bulkhead, they had to look into that further, but they also mentioned it might be as simple as just dredging the canal, lowering the seafloor, remediating it that way, and then it would be something up to the homeowner to contain the land so this erosion and sliding wouldn't occur again.
Historically, there used to be boats here.
Yes. Yeah, I have a picture from 1950s showing boats in this canal.
Right. And just for a point of reference and history here, Long Beach was an area that was piled up with dredge spoils in the late 50s, early 60s, I believe, after Hurricane Donna. And this was one of the kind of the leftover, land features or sea features that existed. So
interestingly, when I was looking for more information to present to the trustees and the DEC, I also found that at one point before the highway was put in, it was proposed as a 22-foot wide highway. And then they learned that it wasn't wide enough. And then they went into wetlands and filled some of the canal to make it a 67-foot wide highway.
Okay. Times were different.
I know.
Well, it looks like there's a strip of land there. I don't know who it belongs to, that where the bulkheads are actually on a separate piece of property.
Yeah, I'm curious about that.
Which picture are you referring to?
The one that's currently up
Oh, let me see.
on the screen.
This guy.
Yeah, I don't know what year. That's 208 year imagery.
Yeah, but does that property line disappear?
Property in question.
that very long rectangle, does that disappear?
That red rectangle is the property, and that line parallel to the shore that was the bulkhead. That bulkhead is removed. So now that bulkhead removal is what's causing the landslide into the canal and
Yeah,
into the
that's the
surrounding abutting properties.
What do we know about
No.
that? Null? That's a
Don't
strange
know him. Wow.
underwater land. Noyak doesn't, who does it belong to?
That property is 65 Cliffs Drive.
No, the
Huh.
strip, Jay.
Yeah, the strip,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just like some type of, it's not taxed. It looks like almost like a ghost strip. kind of
Yeah.
thing.
So it looks like a paper road of some kind.
We have it it's classified as underwater land, underwater vacant land.
Underwater vacant land.
But it's not in town ownership or trustee ownership?
It says none, just like
Well,
unknown.
if it's an artificial canal.
If it's underwater, it's trustees.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's assume that's trustees. All right, well, so Tiffany, you'll work with Tommy John, Councilman Scavone, and Councilman Bouvier, and we'll see.
I'm sorry, sir. Can you say the names again, who I should be speaking with? Ryan Murphy, Tommy Schiavone, you said?
Tommy John, yeah.
Tommy John.
And Councilman Bouvier.
How do you spell that, please?
Bouvier.
Okay.
Did I do that right, John?
You got it.
Okay, Ryan Murphy, Tommy John, Councilman Bouvier, Town Trustee Bouvier, and what was the last name? Sorry.
Councilman, I'm not a trustee.
The
Councilman
councilman.
Bouvier and Trustee Welker. It's her zone.
She hasn't responded to a few of my concerns. Should I be CCing her at this point?
Well,
Sure.
Okay.
You can reach, Tiffany, it's Jim Burke, I'm the town attorney if you want to, you can reach out to me also. I'll speak with Ann too.
Sounds like the right answer is to get the trustees to do some sort of dredging project in there to open up a small.
Yeah, we have to get a DEC's input on it too, I think. Well,
I agree.
All right, so we need to move on, but thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you. I appreciate everyone's time and look forward to remediating this as soon as we're able to get it together. I'll be in touch with the
Well, thanks for your patience and waiting for public.
No worries. Thank you for hearing me. I appreciate it.
All right.
Everyone be safe and healthy. Thank you.
Thanks. You too.
Bye.
You too.
Anyone else who wishes to be heard in public portion? Unmute your phone. All right, I'm not hearing any. Sunday, did anyone correspond with you that they wanted their comment read in public portion?
No, none were received.
All right. Jim, am I clear to close public portion?
yes, you are.
All right, cleared for takeoff? All
Cleared
right.
for takeoff.
All right, I'll make a motion to close public portion.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Here we go, folks, to the main agenda. All right, we are going to start with Resolution 439 of 2020, authorizing transfer of lands from Suffolk County, Shinnecock Hills, and amend CPF management and stewardship plan to include that property. We left the record open for 2 weeks, I believe, so we can't vote on this. I'll make a motion to table 439.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Schiavone. All in favor?
I'm sorry, excuse me, what date are you tabling it to?
26.
May 26th.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm sorry, I can't.
What was that, Tommy John?
I'm someone's talking to me. I'm sorry.
All right.
I have a window right here.
You're gonna have to talk to all
No,
of
no.
us.
You're hearing voices?
Somebody else heard that, Tommy John.
Is Andrea holding court over there or something?
Yes, she is in the dining room. Really.
He takes precedent.
All right. So we had a vote to table, correct, Sunday?
Yes,
All right.
next resolution.
All right. So Tommy John, you've got the next one.
Okay. Excuse me. Town Board Resolution 468 of 2020. This is to adopt the town one-year agricultural use agreements for 2020, 2021.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Lofstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right,
Aye.
approved.
Town Board Resolution 469 of 2020, to authorize the supervisor to sign an extension with Benson Contracting Incorporated to provide wetlands treatment for PFC at plant number 1 at the Hampton Bays Water District.
Second.
The wellhead treatment?
Oh, sorry, did I?
I thought you said wetlands, but maybe you said wellhead.
Wellhead treatment.
For PFC. Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Martell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved.
Town Board Resolution 470 of 2020, co-sponsored with Councilwoman Lofstad, to authorize the purchase of 1102 Erie Way, East Quogue, New York, and a general fund loan to the Affordable Housing Opportunity Bank.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Lofstad. This is the affordable housing unit, I think, at Eagles Walk.
Yes.
And then we would then resell this after we purchase it to a qualified purchaser to keep it affordable. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Diana, you're on the call. Did you want to say anything on that?
Oh, just wanted to say thank you. Let me unmute myself. Wait a second.
You are unmuted. We
You are.
can.
Now you're muted. You went the other way. So
Yeah.
You were unmuted. Now we can't hear you.
Unmute.
Hold
There you
on,
go.
there I am.
There you go.
Okay.
This is a very lovely 55 and older community over in East Quogue, Eagles Walk. And this is a pristine unit in very good condition. So I'm pretty sure we'll sell it quickly. But thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. We already voted to approve the acquisition. So let's move on to the next one, which is,
Thank you, Diana.
thank you. 471 of 2020 authorizes the purchase of Big Belly solar-powered waste compactors for town beach facility. This is co-sponsored with Councilman Bouvier, and this would allow for 3 regular trash and 3 recyclable compactors for they'll go at Long Beach, and they'll address some of the litter problems we believe that we've been having over there with the litter gets sort of they get overstuffed. These hold much more capacity, and they lock the waste inside, so wildlife can't get to it, wind can't get to it. So we're hoping that's going to work out well for that area. John, did you second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. Any discussion?
Yeah, I with Kristen's input, I would love to see more of these go in. I know we have the garbage problem at many beaches, so hopefully we can purchase some more and get them out as well.
Yeah, and what's nice is they tell you when they need to be emptied, which is great too. It has some means of communicating. It also has a foot pedal of some sort too. So in this era of COVID-19, you don't actually have to pull the handle. You can, depress the foot thing and it will open as well. At least that's my understanding.
Yeah, they're also, it's a new generation of solar powered compactor. So you're getting more compaction, and you're getting a lot of safety features to prevent people from putting in household trash and all the kind of things that we've been experiencing in the past. So I agree with you, Julie. I think this is if this works out and we get some good results from this, I'd really like to put more of these throughout the town.
Yep.
We have them all through Village.
I also believe that signage is I'm losing you.
You froze for a second there. So we're going to add signage too. No, you won't be able to deposit any household garbage. And we're going to put, a sign that says this area under video surveillance, violators will be prosecuted, and we actually will have video cameras in that area. So.
Right. I believe people go to the beach to throw their trash away because they're they may not know where to do it. So that would be a good thing.
Right. Agreed. Okay, so I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, so that is approved. Julie, you're up next.
Resolution 2020-472, authorize the purchase of motor fuels from the Omni Partners Cooperative Contract with Truman Arnold Companies.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded, Councilman Scavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved.
Town Board Resolution 474 of 2020, authorize the supervisor to execute a contract with eScope Solutions Incorporated for intrusion prevention services.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Approved. All right. 473, authorizing the supervisor to sign contract with PW Grosser for potable water sampling and analysis.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Lofstad. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Approved. 475 authorizes the supervisor to sign new contract with AMEC E&E PC for environmental consulting services at Damascus Road landfill site.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. 476, awards and authorizes supervisor to sign contract for printing for police department with Dynamic Industries.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved.
Town Board Resolution 2020-477, award authorizes the supervisor to sign a contract for Sag Harbor Transfer Station booth replacement.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved.
Town Board Resolution 2020-478 to award and authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Lipsky Enterprises Incorporated for the installation of a cupola and balustrade at the Nathaniel Rogers House.
On the motion, well, let's get a second. Anybody want a second?
Second.
Councilman Scavone. Lisa, I see you're still here. I think the number is a little more than I anticipated. So this is that Nathaniel Rogers House right in Bridgehampton on Main Street. We've been doing extensive historic restoration of this. Was that around what we thought it would be? It's 724. It was negotiated.
Unmute, Lisa.
Was that?
Lisa.
Thank you. Sorry. It's a little bit higher than we anticipated, but it does include the cupola, the balustrade, and also then full exterior painting for the property that needs to be done to finish the project. We were able to negotiate the price down a little bit from the original bids that were received.
I know. Is there any private money in this as well, or is this just the town CPF?
This is the town's contribution. There is other work that remains to be done at the site that is being paid for privately.
So like the furniture inside and the fence and
Right, the fence, the furniture, and other
yard work.
finishings inside, but it's just about finished now. It's really beautiful. I think you'll be very pleased.
Lisa, will this be our last contribution toward the project? Because you said it was finishing, or do we expect more costs?
I hope that this will be the last contribution on this project. I know it's been going on for a long time. I've been there many times since I came on board, and it's a really beautiful renovation. I think you'll. Although it is expensive, it's very beautiful.
It better be.
Right.
Right.
I do want to say that, Lisa, you're being a little modest on negotiating the price down from the original bid, because I think that was actually quite a good percentage down from what the other bids were. So I appreciate that. But it's my understanding that this is it. I know when we got into office, this was still going on, and I'm glad to see that we finally get this done. But it is incredibly beautiful. I gotta say, but hopefully this is it, to answer your question, Julie.
Right,
Thank you.
I can't, the bid price was negotiated by our historic consultant from McLean Associates, Matt Jedlicka, and he worked very closely with the contractor who was selected to take that price down. So I appreciate his help.
Okay.
But it was competitively bid, because I
Yes, it
remember
was.
this was somewhat controversial, right? There was a challenge to awarding this to the original bidder, and so
That was quite some time ago. There was litigation over this, whether this was not included in the original bid package. It was litigated and the town was successful in that. The town board decided at the inception of the project not to include this, but you have since made that determination to finish the project with the addition of these two important architectural elements that are historic. So I concur. I hope this will be the finishing of this really beautiful project.
okay. All right, any other discussion? All right. We had a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved.
you.
Resolution 479 of 2020 allocates emergency preparedness cost center funds for additional compensation. Is there a second?
Second?
Seconded from Councilwoman Lofstad. This is for,
$100.
this is $1,500, right?
Yeah.
Is it, I think that is for, isn't that, was a zombie grant? Is that right? Ryan, this is for Tanya Dawson? I don't know if Ryan-
Yes.
Yes.
It had to do with Tanya Dawson, you're correct. It was something to do with some work.
Are you asking about the stipend?
Yeah. Well, the allocation of preparedness from the cost center monies.
Correct. It's for the zombie grant management and would go towards Tanya Dawson as our manager of that grant from the town side of things. She coordinates with the manager from the Butterfly Effect that works with identified properties.
Okay.
Right.
Any questions? All right. We had a motion, a second. I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Approved. Thank you, Ryan. 480 amends the 2020 budget for various departments.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. 481 of 2020 amends the 2020 to 24 capital budget for waste management transfer station attendance booths.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. 482 of 2020 authorizes adoption of the 2020 CPF pilot plan and payment of 2020 pilots. I think I have to table this. Right, Jim? This is tied into the hearing that's open for 2 more weeks?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, so let's, I'll make it a motion to table to May 26th. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Councilwoman Lofstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so that's tabled. 483 of 2020 authorized closure of capital projects.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. 484 co-sponsored with Councilman Scavone and Councilman Bouvier appoints the Community Preservation Fund Advisory Committee for 2020. Seconded by John. You want to second this?
Sure.
Councilman Bouvier. And the notable change is Craig Catalanato is not on the list. He's part of the next resolution. And Elena Williams is on the list. And Elena, as most of us know, is a member of the Shinnecock Nation. It'd be nice to have her voice heard as we talk about preserving land and historic places. I think she'll be a great addition to this board, and she was recommended by the Tribal Council, I believe.
Yeah, she was. And I'll echo your sentiments. I think Elena will be a great addition to the board. And I know she's particularly excited and looking forward to serving. So I think we'll see good things come out of this board in the future.
All right. So there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye. Who is the second?
John Bouvier, Councilman Bouvier.
Thank you.
All right. 485, also co-sponsored with Councilman Scavone and Councilman Bouvier. This is appointing Craig Catalanato to the vacancy in the Licensing Review Board.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. Congratulations to Craig. I know Craig very well. He'll be an excellent member of this Licensing Review Board. And he's been great on CPF, and it's nice to know he's interested in serving the town like this.
I'll echo those sentiment as well, Supervisor. I know Craig well also, and he serves really admirably in the western portion of the town with the CAC West and other land use issues. I know he's also excited to join this board. He's looking forward to serving. I think it's a great addition.
In addition to that, I was muted before I was speaking. My apologies. As an owner of a small business, I think that's he's a welcome addition to that board. And also Elena Rivera Williams, she's very active in her community, and she'll do well on the CPF board. These are great choices.
Thank you, Councilman. All right, so we are at 486 of 2020, authorized additional funds for Suttelman, Ballin, Adler, and Hyman LLP to represent and defend the town as it relates to Rose Hill Road in Watermill, New York.
Second.
That was
Julie.
seconded by Councilwoman Lofstad. I thought that was Stern and Sokolov or something.
No, they're the attorneys for the trustees, Mr. Supervisor. So Tillman represents the town board.
Okay, the separate council.
Right.
Okay. All right, so we had a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. 487 of 2020, continuation of legal services by Devitt Spellman Barrett LLP as it relates to the matter of Fred W. Thiel Jr. et al. Versus Planning Board of the Town of Southampton et al. I need a second.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Resolution 488 of 2020, co-sponsored by all of you, the entire town board, Councilman Lofstad, Martell, Councilwoman Lofstad, Councilman Martell, Bouvier, and Scavone. This is appointing Jamie Bowden to Community Organization Specialist position in Housing and Community Services.
Second.
Seconded by, I'm sorry, there's a lot of hands. Seconded by Councilman Lofstad, okay. On the motion, anyone? This is the.
Sure, Jamie.
By V. Bennett.
Jamie Bowden is an excellent choice for this position. She was my legislative aide. She went with myself and Christine Scalera. She is a true professional. She's worked in the town diligently, and she certainly can perform this job quite well, and I think she will excel in it. So congratulations, Jamie.
Anyone else?
I would just like to say thank you to V. who retired during this time after 20 years with the town. She did an amazing job. She was a pleasure to work with. She handled the honor flight, which honors our veterans, World War II. Now Jamie will be taking that over. So I want to say thank you to the board and thank you to V for her years of service for the town.
And I'd just like to say, I know that Jamie's been training with V for several months and has been very diligent in learning the job, and I think she's going to be great at it. So thanks, V, and congratulations, Jamie.
All right.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's when Jamie was contemplating doing this job, and I remember seeing her the first time at some of the meetings, some of V's meetings, and some other meetings that we had. She was. I know she was nervous about it, but she became natural to her almost immediately. She loves it. She has such great things to say about what she was doing, Diana, downstairs and all the things. And I'm glad that she has a good home. We'll miss her a lot, but she's going to do great service for the town. It's really nice to see. So thank you. Thank you in particular, Diana.
All right. Anyone else? I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved, and congratulations, Jamie. And she'll be reporting to you, Diana, right? I think so.
Yeah, Diana left.
No, she is.
All right, Diana, Jamie reports directly to your.
Unmute yourself, Diana. Right.
Yes, she'll report directly to me. V did the honor flight. She does the town grants from the Altice grant. And she also works with the domestic violence women over at the courts, who do an amazing job helping out women, and men who are, who are experiencing domestic violence in the courts. They work over at the court complex.
Right. Well, I'm sure you'll work with her and train her well, and Jamie will be a great asset. So.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, board. You're looking all great.
Thanks. You too, Diana. Stay safe. All right. Next is resolution 489 of 2020, authorizes stipulation of settlement and general releases. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second was Councilwoman Lofstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. You need to get that? No, I'm just kidding. All right, 490 is done.
Yeah, Town Board Resolution 2020-490 is a notice of public hearing to consider accepting a grant of open space in connection with the subdivision map of Edwards Middle Line Highway.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved. All right, so let's go to the walk-ons. Resolution 34031. It's warrant number 9, capital number 9, CPF number 9, and payroll liability.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the last one is 34036, authorized publication of notice in newspaper in connection with the town's application to participate in DEC's brownfield cleanup program for the Damascus landfill site.
I'll second that. I just want to, this is pretty important, I think, to us, particularly being able to change this piece to an eligible DEC brown site program and area that'll allow us to potentially add alternative energy systems and things like that. So this, to me, is a big step forward. So I appreciate it.
That's great.
Agreed.
All right. So seconded by Councilman Bouvier. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, approved. So that is it. I'll remind everybody one more time that we're meeting Thursday as commissioners for the Hampton Bays Water District, and then any other work session items, and of course the executive session to follow. We'll get you all the information as how to participate, and to please be safe and follow all the rules. Masks on when within 6 feet of people, and social distance, and hang in there. I know I speak to you during the week on various conference calls, and everybody's been doing a great job and trying to keep everyone safe. So any other business?
I have one PSA.
Okay, Julie, you first?
Yeah, there's lots of people walking around, great, getting exercise, getting out, but please do not put anything in the storm drains. If you have garbage on if you have stuff on your walk and you're done with it, wait till you get home and throw it in your own garbage. Please don't throw it in the storm drains. Thank you.
Or on the sidewalk or anywhere else.
Yes, anywhere. Take it home.
It's disgusting, yeah. Tommy John?
Yes, our youth in government group that was scheduled to go to Albany, we actually canceled that trip on March 10th. They were supposed to go there the following weekend. We actually had the conference online. It was kind of complex. I want to thank the YMCA and our youth bureau, Nancy Lynott, and for all the work that they did. Our kids participated. They did well. They presented their bills. I want to congratulate James Davis, Andrew Mastrol, Aiden Janender, Aiden Wisniewski Campo, and Ricardo and Ricky Sobervenus. They did a great job. And a special shout out to Morgan Thompson, who had a bill ready, but you know what? It's advanced placement testing time, and she was studying for her test. So good for her. And I just want to congratulate those kids who participated and hung in there. These are strange times, right?
I had something I wanted to say. It's a good news. We had, as you know, we've been working on the CCA tariff changes. There's a vote coming up with the LIPA board on May 20th. They had public comment open until May 11th. And we made a big push, and I know many of you signed on to that and provided your own letters, as well as Assemblyman Thiel and Legislator Fleming and many other elected officials on the East End. We had a targeted goal of 500 signatures. We got over 1,000, and those were just submitted. And I did want to give a special thanks to Frank Sapone and Lynn Arthur, who have been working tirelessly on this, as well as Deborah and the rest of the people in CRC who put under quick, stressful means, put things up on the website to get this link to the LIPA trustee board public comment sections open. So great success to us in that regard, and I'm looking forward to the vote on the 20th. Thank you all for all of you who are listening, who signed on the petition. It was really quite an effort, and draw down another group, Rob Calvert and Mike Anthony, and a whole bunch of other people, Dar Riley, who worked tirelessly over the last few days to get these signatures in place. So I appreciate it, and thank you very much.
All right, any other business? Thank you for that, John. All right, seeing none, I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Scavone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, okay, we are adjourned. Stay safe, everyone.